Have you ever noticed how life sometimes feels like a mirror? You speak something, and somehow life echoes it back. Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the great teachers of metaphysical wisdom, once said, "Your word is your wand." She believed the universe doesn't respond to our wishes. It responds to our words. Not someday, not maybe, but instantly, like a seed dropped into the soil of reality. Now imagine this. You plant a seed of an oak tree. What grows? An oak. You don't get roses. You don't get weeds. You get exactly what you planted. The same law applies to your life. What you speak repeatedly becomes your experience. Florence taught that there are 3 exact words that command the universe. And when you use them with conviction, life rearranges itself in your favor. Are you ready for them? The words are, I am. That's it. Simple. Powerful. Unstoppable. Every sentence you begin with, I am, is an order to the universe. It is a declaration. It is law. Think about it. When you say, I am unlucky, the universe nods and says, as you wish. When you say, I am strong, the universe replies, yes you are. When you say, I am worthy, doors you thought were locked start opening. History gives us proof. Do you think Alexander the Great would have conquered nations saying, I am weak? Do you think Thomas Edison would have invented the light bulb saying, I am a failure? Do you think Rosa Parks would have stood for justice saying, I am powerless? No. They declared who they were, long before the world believed them. Now let's bring it closer to home. How many times have you caught yourself saying, I am tired. I am broke. I am not good enough? Every time you do, it's like giving the universe instructions to build that reality. But here's the good news. You can rewrite your life at any moment. You can pick up this tool, the power of I am, and use it as your sword. Say it with me now. I am strong. I am worthy. I am guided. I am blessed. Can you feel the shift? It's not just words. It's energy. It's alignment with divine law. Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us, change your words and you change your world. So tonight ask yourself, what I am are you living with? Because those 2 little words are not just descriptions. They are commands. They are creation itself. And the universe always obeys. Thank you. Key takeaways. I am are the 3 exact words that shape your reality. The universe obeys your declarations, not your wishes. Every word you speak is like planting a seed. What you plant, you grow. Negative I am statements attract struggle. Positive ones attract power. Great leaders and visionaries succeeded by declaring who they were long before the world believed them. You have the power to rewrite your life by choosing empowering I am statements daily. There's a quiet power hidden inside the simplest words we speak. A power so subtle most people never notice it, yet so mighty it shapes the entire direction of our lives. These words are not long. They're not complicated. In fact, they're only 2 words, but when they're spoken, they carry with them the energy of creation itself. I am. The moment you declare, I am, you're not just describing yourself. You're defining yourself. You're sending a command outward to the invisible forces around you, and the universe, like a faithful servant, begins to respond. It's as though every time you say, I am, you're writing a script and life begins to play it out scene by scene. Imagine a young boy in school. He isn't the smartest in his class. He isn't the tallest. He isn't the strongest. But every morning before he leaves the house, his mother kneels in front of him, looks into his eyes and says, remember, son, you are brave, you are kind, you are capable. And the boy, maybe not fully understanding the weight of those words, repeats them quietly. I am brave. I am kind. I am capable. That boy grows up with a foundation. Even when life throws him into storms, even when others doubt him, he has an inner compass that whispers, I am enough. Those 2 words drilled into him daily shape his sense of self, his choices, his future. Now picture another child, one who hears very different words. Perhaps a parent, out of their own frustration, says, you are so clumsy. You are such a problem. You are never going to make it. The child absorbs those words like dry soil soaks in water. Soon they begin to say it themselves. I am clumsy. I am a problem. I am not going to make it. And what happens? They stumble more. They quit faster. They carry an invisible chain of belief that drags behind them everywhere they go. This is not magic. This is psychology, spirituality, and energy woven together. The universe listens. The mind listens. and the body follows. Florence Scovel Shinn once wrote, "Your word is your wand." A wand doesn't describe what is, it creates what will be. And your words are no different. When you say, "I am successful," you may not have all the signs of success yet, but you are giving your subconscious a blueprint. When you say, "I am strong," your body begins to align with resilience. When you say, "I am loved," the energy you radiate draws in people who treat you with kindness. Consider history. Think of Muhammad Ali, who boldly declared, "I am the greatest." He didn't say this once he was crowned champion. He said it long before. Even when the world mocked him, even when the evidence wasn't there yet, he kept declaring it, "I am the greatest." And what happened? The universe, slowly, piece by piece, rearranged reality until his words became true. His opponents didn't just face his fists, they faced the weight of his identity. He wasn't trying to become the greatest. He was the greatest because he said he was. Or think of Nelson Mandela sitting in a prison cell for 27 years. He could have said, "I am broken. I am forgotten. I am powerless." And no one would have blamed him. But instead he held to a higher truth. "I am free. I am destined to lead. I am the hope of my people." Those words carried him through darkness until the world itself shifted to meet them. Now let me bring it closer to you. How many times in the past week have you said, "I am tired," or "I am stressed," or "I am unlucky"? Every time you do, you're planting a seed. The soil doesn't judge whether it's good or bad. It just grows what you plant. The words "I am tired" reinforce fatigue. The words "I am unlucky" blind you to opportunities. The words "I am stressed" tighten your chest and quicken your heart. But flip it, say, "I am full of energy." Say, "I am open to blessings." Say, "I am at peace." At first your mind may argue. It may whisper, but you don't feel that way. So keep speaking it. Speak it until your subconscious rewires. Speak it until the universe bends to match it. There's a story I once heard about a woman who had struggled financially her whole life. Every bill felt like a burden, every dollar a battle. She was introduced to the practice of affirmations, and at first she laughed. How is saying, "I am wealthy," going to change my empty bank account? But she decided to try. Every morning, looking in the mirror, she whispered, "I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am worthy of wealth." Nothing happened the first week, or the second, but slowly she noticed changes. She started handling money with more respect. She stopped speaking of lack and started seeing opportunities. Within a year, she had built a small business that grew faster than she imagined. Was it magic? Or was it the simple shift of identity that led her to make new choices? The words, "I am" reshaped her destiny. What about you? What "I am" statements have you been carrying for years? Maybe you've said, "I am shy," and so you avoid speaking up even when you have something important to say. Maybe you've said, "I am unlucky in love," and so every relationship is approached with the expectation of failure. Maybe you've said, "I am not smart enough," and so you shrink back from opportunities, not realizing the only thing holding you back is the story you tell yourself. Imagine standing in front of a mirror every day and declaring, "I am powerful. I am guided. I am blessed. I am unstoppable." At first you may not believe it, but repetition builds belief. And belief builds reality. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It only knows what you keep telling it. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn's wisdom is timeless. She knew that words are not casual, they are causal. They don't just describe your world, they create it. When you begin a sentence with "I am," you are holding the paintbrush. You are deciding what colors will cover the canvas of your life. Some people choose dull grays. "I am stuck. I am unlucky. I am small." Others choose vibrant hues. "I am creative. I am loved. I am destined for greatness." The canvas always reflects the choice. So ask yourself right now, what words have you been commanding the universe with? What identity have you been affirming without even realizing it? Because whether whispered or shouted, whether spoken in joy or frustration, every "I am" sets something in motion. The universe is not waiting to decide for you. It is waiting to echo back what you declare. The universe doesn't answer to your wishes. It answers to your words. That's a hard truth to swallow because most of us were raised believing that wishing hard enough, dreaming big enough, and hoping long enough would eventually make things happen. We close our eyes, make a wish on a birthday candle, throw a coin into a fountain, whisper something into the night sky and wait, expecting the universe to somehow hear the desire and respond. But Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us again and again, it isn't your silent wishing that holds the power, it's your spoken word. Your declarations shape the current of your life. Think about it. Wishing is passive. It's like standing at the edge of the ocean, staring at the waves, hoping the water carries you somewhere new. But speaking, declaring, is like stepping into the tide with intention, directing the current, telling it where you're going. Wishing asks. Speaking commands. The universe doesn't obey requests. It obeys orders cloaked in conviction. There's a story about a man who spent years wishing for success. Every night he would whisper to himself, I wish I could be wealthy. I wish I could escape this life. I wish I could start over. He carried his dreams like fragile glass, tucked away in silence. But the problem was nothing changed. He kept waiting for his wish to turn into reality. And it never did. Then one day, exhausted by his own waiting, he stood in front of a mirror and said something he'd never dared to before. I am successful. I am ready. I am stepping into wealth. He didn't just whisper it. He declared it. That very declaration shifted his energy, his actions, his choices. Within months he started noticing opportunities he had never seen before. People who could help him seemed to appear. His conversations changed, his mindset changed, and eventually his circumstances changed. It wasn't the wish that brought the breakthrough. It was the word. There's a reason why in ancient traditions, words were seen as sacred, almost magical. In the Bible it says, in the beginning was the Word. Creation didn't come through wishing, it came through speaking. God said, let there be light, and there was light. The pattern is clear. Nothing moves until a word is spoken. Florence Scovel Shinn believed the same principle governs our lives. When you speak, you set a vibration into motion. And vibration draws reality to itself like a magnet. Imagine two people standing side by side. One says, I wish I could be healthy. The other says, I am becoming healthier every day. Which one do you think starts drinking more water, taking walks, paying attention to their body? Which one do you think unconsciously takes steps to fulfill the declaration? The difference is striking. One is waiting on the universe to decide. The other is instructing the universe on what to deliver. But why do we settle for wishing? Because it feels safe. When we say, I wish, we don't risk anything. We don't put ourselves on the line. It's like saying, if it happens, fine. If it doesn't, well, at least I didn't declare it. But when you say, I am, or I will, you're stepping into responsibility. You're standing in front of life itself and saying, this is who I am. This is what I command. That takes courage. That takes faith. And that's why it works. The universe doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards conviction. Think of Thomas Edison. Do you think he sat in his workshop saying, I wish I could invent something someday? No. He declared it. He said, I will find it. I am discovering. That's why he could endure 1,000 failed experiments and still move forward. His words anchored his reality. Or think of Martin Luther King Jr. standing before thousands saying, I have a dream. He didn't say, I wish things were different. He declared his vision. And the power of those words still echoes decades later, reshaping society. Closer to home, think of a moment in your own life when you shifted from wishing to declaring. Maybe you once wished for love, hoping someone would find you. But the moment you said, I am worthy of love, I am ready to give love, things changed. Maybe you wished for a better job, but only when you started saying, I am capable, I am prepared, I am stepping into new opportunities, did doors begin to open. The difference is subtle, but it is everything. Florence Scovel Shinn would often tell her students, never voice lack or limitation. Declare you're good. Because every time you speak words of lack, you reinforce that reality. Say, I am broke, and life hears it. Say, I am unlucky, and situations line up to match it. But declare the opposite even when your circumstances don't yet reflect it, and slowly the outer world catches up to your inner command. Let me give you an image. Imagine your words as seeds, and the universe as fertile soil. Wishing is like holding seeds in your hand, staring at them, hoping they grow. Nothing happens. They remain dry and lifeless. But speaking, declaring, is like planting them into the ground, covering them with earth, watering them. Only then do they begin to sprout. Your words plant the seed. Your faith waters it. Your persistence gives it sunlight. And eventually it grows into reality. This is why people who constantly complain often live lives filled with the very things they complain about. The person who always says, "I am so unlucky," keeps experiencing misfortune. The one who says, "I can't get a break," keeps meeting closed doors. They are planting seeds of lack day after day with their words. And the soil of the universe never fails to grow them. But here's the beautiful part. The moment you choose new words, you plant new seeds. You don't have to carry the harvest of yesterday's declarations. You can begin today right now with a new statement. Speak, "I am healing" instead of "I am broken." Speak, "I am thriving" instead of "I am struggling." Speak, "I am attracting abundance" instead of "I am always in debt." At first it may feel strange, even dishonest, because your outer reality hasn't caught up. But keep planting. Keep watering. The soil will do its work. So the next time you find yourself wishing, pause. Catch yourself. Transform the wish into a declaration. Instead of "I wish I could succeed," say, "I am succeeding." Instead of "I wish I had confidence," say, "I am confident." Instead of "I wish I could change my life," say, "I am changing my life right now." And as those words roll off your tongue, notice how your body shifts, how your energy rises, how your mind begins to align. That's the power Florence spoke of. The universe doesn't obey silent hope. It obeys spoken faith. It doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your words. Every word you speak is like planting a seed. What you plant, you grow. That's not just a poetic phrase, it's a law of life. A law so consistent and unwavering that once you truly understand it, you can never look at your words the same way again. Imagine standing in a vast field, the soil fertile and ready, stretching endlessly in every direction. In your hands is a bag of seeds. Some seeds will grow into towering oaks, others into thorny weeds. Some will produce sweet fruit, others bitter thistles. And here's the secret. Every sentence you speak, every declaration you make, is another seed scattered into that soil. You don't get to choose whether the soil grows it or not. You only choose what kind of seed you throw down. The soil is faithful. It does not judge. It simply multiplies what it's given. Think about the power of this. When you say, "I am unlucky," you just dropped a seed into the ground. That seed doesn't vanish. It roots. It sprouts. And soon enough you're walking through experiences that confirm it. Missed chances, setbacks, disappointments, until you look around and say, "See? I knew it. I am unlucky." But was it life that cursed you, or was it the seed you planted with your words? Now shift the scene. Another person wakes each morning and says, "I am blessed. I am guided. I am surrounded by opportunities." Those words are seeds too. And the soil beneath them begins to bring forth different fruit. An unexpected promotion, a stranger's kindness, a sudden solution to a lingering problem. Soon their life looks different, not because they were more talented or more fortunate at the start, but because they chose to scatter better seeds. Florence Scovel Shinn often warned against careless speech, because careless words are careless seeds. She wrote, "You will reap the fruits of your words." Most people don't connect the dots. They think life is random, unfair, unpredictable. They never realize that the words they've been speaking for years have grown into the very forest they now wander through. Every "I am tired," every "I am broke," every "I never win," has sprouted and multiplied, surrounding them in a harvest they forgot they planted. Let me paint a picture. Picture a young woman named Sarah. Every morning she looks in the mirror and sighs, "I am so exhausted, I am so overwhelmed, I am not good enough." She doesn't mean to curse her life, but those words flow out of her like habit. Over time her shoulders slump. Her energy fades. Her relationships weaken. She wonders why everything feels heavy, why nothing changes. But what she cannot see is that her words have become seeds, and her reality is simply following the design she herself has spoken. Now picture another woman, Emily. She doesn't have a perfect life either. She has struggles, bills, challenges. But every morning she makes a different choice. She looks in the mirror and says, "I am strong. I am capable. I am loved. I am rising higher every day." And though she faces storms just like Sarah, her words scatter different seeds. Seeds that grow into resilience, open doors, unexpected help, small victories that build into larger ones. The difference between Sarah and Emily is not luck, its language. History is filled with people who understood this. Think of Winston Churchill, who during the darkest days of war declared not despair but courage. I am convinced we shall never give in. Those words weren't just speeches to the public. They were seeds planted in the soil of a nation, seeds that grew into hope, into resilience, into victory. Or consider Helen Keller, who could have easily said, I am helpless. I am cursed. I am limited. But instead she declared, I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. Those words were seeds of determination that blossomed into a life that inspired millions. Even in your own life, if you look back, you can probably trace how your repeated words shaped the seasons you walked through. Maybe you went through a time where you kept saying, I am so stressed, and sure enough, the stress multiplied like weeds choking a garden. Or maybe you had a time when you boldly said, I am ready, I am unstoppable, and everything seemed to align, opportunities came and momentum carried you forward. The soil did not decide. You did. There's a story of a farmer who every season planted both wheat and weeds. When asked why he would plant weeds knowingly, he shrugged and said, I wasn't paying attention. That's how many of us live. We don't pay attention to the words we scatter, not realizing we are sowing thorns alongside the fruit we desire. Then when life feels painful, we blame the soil, never remembering it was our hand that planted the seeds. But here's the redeeming part. Just as a farmer can choose new seeds each season, you can choose new words each day. You can begin pulling up weeds with silence, replacing them with affirmations that nourish you. You can start saying, I am learning, I am growing, I am attracting good things, and watch how slowly but surely your harvest changes. The soil doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't cling to the past. It simply grows what you plant today. I once heard the story of a man who had spent years saying, I am poor. He didn't mean to curse himself. It was just the way he spoke. One day he heard a mentor explain this very principle, that every I am is a seed. He laughed at first, but then he decided to test it. For 30 days he shifted his language. Every morning he said, I am abundant. I am prospering. I am provided for. At first nothing changed. But around the third week he noticed small shifts. He handled money differently. He took chances he normally avoided. By the end of the year his income had doubled. He would later say, the soil was never against me. It was waiting for new seeds. So let me ask you, what have you been planting? What words have you been scattering without thought? Are you filling your field with weeds or fruit? Because the universe does not discriminate. It does not say, this word is silly, this one we won't grow. No, it grows them all. Every complaint, every affirmation, every careless joke becomes part of your harvest. That's why wise teachers urge us to guard our words like treasures. If you want a new life, you must plant new words. It will not happen instantly. Seeds don't sprout the moment they touch the ground. They take time. They need sunlight, water, patience. But if you keep speaking them, keep tending them, the soil of the universe will not fail you. One day you will look around at your life and realize you are standing in the garden you once spoke into existence. And when that day comes, you will understand what Florence Scovel Shinn meant. Words are not just air. They are seeds. And the universe is always listening, always planting, always growing exactly what you say. Negative I am statements attract struggle. Positive ones attract power. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Just 2 words spoken carelessly can either lock doors in your life or fling them wide open. Yet if you think about it deeply, you'll realize that this truth has been playing out around you every single day. The words you use to define yourself become the very walls or bridges of your experience. You cannot keep saying, I am unlucky, and expect to stumble into fortune. You cannot whisper, I am weak, and suddenly discover unshakable strength. You cannot declare, I am unworthy, and still expect love to embrace you fully. Your words are magnets. They pull toward you the exact energy they describe. And the universe, like an obedient servant, says, yes, as you wish. Picture someone who wakes up in the morning already defeated. They roll out of bed, sigh, and mutter, I am so tired. I am so stressed. I am not ready for this day. With every statement, they are shaping the hours ahead. The moment they step into traffic, they hit every red light. At work, the smallest issue feels overwhelming. A comment from a colleague cuts deeper than it should. They wonder why the world seems to resist them, not realizing it was their own declarations that created the resistance. Their words became the lens through which they view every event, and soon, struggle becomes the theme of their story. Now imagine another person waking up under the same circumstances. Bills to pay, a job to face, responsibilities that feel heavy. But instead of surrendering to negativity, they place their feet on the floor and say, I am grateful for this new day. I am capable of handling what comes. I am ready for unexpected blessings. These words don't magically erase challenges, but they create a posture of power. Suddenly, that same traffic feels like an opportunity to listen to music or breathe. The issues at work feel like puzzles instead of disasters. A colleague's comment becomes a chance to practice patience instead of a personal wound. This person still faces life, but instead of attracting struggle, they attract moments of strength, solutions, and even favor. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "You will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction you are a success." This is done by making an affirmation which clicks. Negative, I am statements click just as easily, and once they imprint the subconscious, they build momentum. When someone keeps saying, I am anxious, their body responds. The heart rate rises, the chest tightens, the nervous system becomes restless. The words open the door for struggle to walk in freely. But when someone says, I am calm, I am at peace, the body shifts toward that command. Breathing slows, muscles relax, the mind begins to quiet. The words draw in power instead of struggle. Think about the phrase, I am unlucky in love. How many times have people spoken that after a heartbreak? And what happens? They approach new relationships expecting them to fail, suspicious of kindness, blind to genuine opportunities for connection. The statement becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now imagine instead saying, I am learning to love deeply. I am ready for a healthy relationship. I am attracting someone who values me. The energy changes completely. The person begins to carry themselves differently, with more openness, more confidence, more joy. And those qualities in turn attract relationships that reflect them. History gives us endless examples of how declarations of power create momentum. Consider Oprah Winfrey. She could have spent her life repeating the negative I am statements her childhood circumstances suggested. I am poor. I am unwanted. I am limited. But she didn't. She declared something higher. She said, I am destined for greatness. I am valuable. I am meant to use my voice. Those statements pulled her out of hardship and attracted the opportunities that aligned with them. The same soil that could have grown weeds of struggle instead grew a harvest of power, because she chose her words carefully. Even the great inventor Nikola Tesla understood this principle in his own way. He once said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Words are vibrations. Negative I am statements vibrate on the frequency of lack and struggle. Positive I am statements vibrate on the frequency of power and abundance. The universe simply matches the frequency you send out. Let me bring it closer to you. Have you ever had a day where you said to yourself, I am having the worst luck? And then the car broke down, you spilled coffee on your shirt, and the phone rang with bad news? It felt like everything piled on top of you at once. But here's the strange part. You primed yourself for that experience with your words. Your declaration acted like a magnet, drawing in experiences that fit the script. On the other hand, maybe you've also had a day where you said, I am so blessed, and suddenly little surprises kept showing up. An old friend called, a stranger smiled, a door opened at just the right time. That wasn't coincidence. That was the fruit of the seeds you planted with your words. There's a simple story about a teacher who gave her students 2 plants. To one plant they were told to speak kindly every day. You are growing beautifully. You are strong. You are healthy. To the other they were told to speak harshly. You are weak. You are dying. You are worthless. Within weeks the difference was undeniable. The plant spoken to with kindness thrived while the other wilted. If plants respond to words, how much more does the human spirit? And here's the truth. Most of the negative I am statements we carry aren't even ours originally. They were handed to us. A parent, a teacher, a bully, a boss. They planted words in us that we unconsciously repeated. I am not smart enough. I am not pretty enough. I am not good enough. Those statements may have been said in passing, but once we took them on as our own, they became scripts we kept playing. The struggle we feel today may not even be from seeds we chose, but from seeds we allowed. The moment we realize this, we can uproot them. We can stop rehearsing someone else's words and begin declaring our own. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminded people that the tongue has the power of life and death. It is not just poetic language, it is literal. Every word carries energy. And the most powerful words of all are those that begin with, I am. They are not descriptions. They are identities. An identity is destiny. So the choice is always before you. When you open your mouth and speak, I am, will you plant seeds of struggle or seeds of power? Will you say, I am stuck, I am unlucky, I am tired of this life? Or will you say, I am moving forward, I am favored, I am strong enough to handle what comes? The soil of the universe is waiting. It does not argue, it does not resist. It simply says, as you speak, so shall it be. And that is why negative I am statements attract struggle. They are instructions to life to bring more difficulty, more resistance, more lack. But positive I am statements attract power. They are signals to the universe to send strength, guidance, favor, and abundance. And the soil, faithful as always, grows whatever you choose to plant. Do you think Alexander the Great would have conquered nations if he had gone around saying, I am weak? Do you think Thomas Edison would have changed the world with his inventions if he had said, I am a failure? Do you think Rosa Parks would have ignited a movement if she had whispered, I am powerless? Of course not. What these figures understood, whether consciously or instinctively, was that words shape identity and identity shapes destiny. Long before history recognized their greatness, they had already declared it within themselves. Their I am statements were not reflections of their circumstances. They were proclamations of who they chose to be, and those proclamations pulled their circumstances into alignment. Imagine Alexander as a young man standing before his army for the first time. He had not yet earned the title great. He was still just a boy carrying the weight of his father's legacy. But in his heart he did not say, I am unprepared. He declared, I am destined to lead. I am a conqueror. That identity gave him the courage to march into battles that seemed impossible, to face enemies larger in number, stronger in resources, and still believe he would win. History remembers him as the Great because he lived out the story he first wrote with his words. Think of Edison surrounded by failed experiments, his lab cluttered with broken filaments and burnt-out ideas. The easy declaration would have been, I am finished. I am foolish. But instead his identity was shaped by a different I am. I am an inventor. I am a discoverer. He famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That statement reveals everything. His words created resilience. His identity refused defeat. And because of that, the light bulb shines in our homes today. Now imagine Rosa Parks on that bus in Montgomery. Her body was weary, her spirit heavy from years of injustice. She could have said to herself, I am tired. I am powerless. I am just one woman. And if she had, history would have passed quietly that day. But instead her I am carried power. I am equal. I am worthy. I am unmovable. With those silent declarations she set off a chain of events that rippled through generations. The universe does not give crowns to the hesitant. It responds to those who boldly declare who they are, even when no one else sees it yet. It's easy to look at these towering figures and think, well, of course they had something special. But the truth is, they were ordinary people who made extraordinary choices about the words they lived by. And that choice is available to every single one of us. You don't have to lead an empire, invent a miracle, or ignite a revolution for this principle to matter. Every day in the quiet moments of your life, you are declaring your I am. And those declarations are either shrinking your world or expanding it. Think of a student walking into an exam room. One whispers under their breath, I am going to fail. I am not smart enough. The other straightens their back and says, I am prepared. I am capable. Both students may have studied the same number of hours, but their experiences in that room will be worlds apart. The first student, weighed down by their declaration, notices every difficult question as proof of their failure. The second sees the same questions as challenges they can solve, fueled by the confidence of their words. The test doesn't just measure knowledge. It amplifies the story each one told themselves beforehand. Or imagine two athletes on the starting line. One tells himself, I am nervous. I am not as fast as the others. The other whispers, I am ready. I am strong. I am unstoppable. The gun goes off, and though they both trained hard, their inner words shape their outer performance. The first runner hesitates, doubts, stumbles. The second charges forward with conviction. Their times reflect not just their physical preparation but their verbal declarations. Florence Scovel Shinn often said, "Change your words and you change your world." She understood what so many overlook. The outer life bends to the inner identity. And identity is shaped by words. Great leaders and visionaries were not waiting for evidence before declaring who they were. They spoke it first and the evidence followed. There's a story about a young actor who struggled for years to find roles. He auditioned constantly but was rejected again and again. Each time he told himself, "I am not good enough. I am not cut out for this." Until one day a mentor stopped him and said, "Stop declaring your failure. Begin declaring your future." The actor reluctantly began to change his language. Before auditions he told himself, "I am talented. I am chosen. I am becoming successful." Within a year his energy shifted so much that casting directors began to notice. He started landing roles. Eventually he became a household name. When asked what changed, he didn't say his skill suddenly skyrocketed. He said, "I changed my words." Now let's bring it even closer. Think about your own life. What have you been declaring? Perhaps you've been saying, "I am always struggling financially." And sure enough, no matter what comes, the money seems to slip away. Or maybe you've been saying, "I am unlucky in relationships," and every partnership seems to fall apart. But what if instead you declared something different? What if you began saying, "I am prosperous. I am wise with money. I am deserving of love. I am attracting healthy relationships"? At first it might feel like a lie because your outer life hasn't caught up. But remember, Alexander wasn't great when he declared it. Edison wasn't successful when he claimed it. Rosa Parks wasn't powerful in the eyes of the world when she stood her ground. They became what they declared. And so can you. The danger of negative "I am" statements is that they trap you in a cycle of struggle. But the power of positive "I am" statements is that they lift you into cycles of growth. Every hero in history has lived this truth, and every person in the present has the chance to live it too. The question is not whether the universe will respond. It always does. The question is, what are you commanding it to deliver? So picture yourself standing in front of the mirror. Look into your own eyes. You may not feel like a conqueror, an inventor, a world changer. But ask yourself this. What would happen if, from this moment forward, you began declaring it anyway? What would happen if you said, "I am resilient. I am gifted. I am chosen for something greater"? The soil of the universe is ready. It is waiting for your words. And just like Alexander, Edison, and Rosa, your destiny is waiting for you to declare it into being. Have you ever planted a seed and checked the soil the very next day, wondering why nothing has sprouted yet? You stare at the dirt, you water it, you wait a little longer, and still there is no visible sign of life. Some people get frustrated, dig up the soil, and throw the seed away, convinced that it will never grow. Others, however, trust the process. They keep watering, they keep waiting, and they believe, because they know that beneath the surface something is happening that the eye cannot yet see. This is the very nature of the universe. It responds to your words, your declarations, and your beliefs, but it does not always reveal the harvest immediately. Florence Scovel Shinn called it divine timing, and she insisted that patience and persistence were not optional. They were essential to seeing the promises of your words fulfilled. Think about the farmer. When he plants corn, he does not expect a harvest tomorrow. He does not storm into the field demanding that the stalks rise up overnight. He understands seasons. He understands cycles. He understands that every word spoken, every seed planted has an appointed time. And in the same way, your declarations, those "I am" statements you boldly release into the universe, are not wasted. They are planted seeds. Some will sprout quickly, others will take months or even years to push through the soil, but each is alive with potential. The tragedy is that most people give up before the seed ever breaks through. Let me tell you about a woman who longed for healing. She had been told by doctors that her condition was incurable. Every day she wrestled with pain and discouragement. But instead of surrendering, she chose to declare, "I am whole. I am healed. I am strong." She said it when her body screamed the opposite. She said it when friends looked at her with pity. She said it through tears and sleepless nights. And for months nothing changed. It would have been easy to believe that her words were powerless. that perhaps Florence Scovel Shinn's wisdom was only poetic, not practical. But she kept watering the seed. She kept speaking life. 1 year later she found a new doctor, a new treatment, and slowly her body began to respond. She eventually walked without pain, lived without limitation. And when asked what sustained her through the darkest months, she said, "I kept declaring who I was, not who I appeared to be. My words were my medicine before the cure ever came." This is the heart of persistence, believing when the evidence says otherwise. It is Noah building the ark before the first raindrop fell. It is Nelson Mandela declaring freedom while locked in a prison cell. It is every dreamer holding on to a vision when reality seems stubbornly unchanged. The universe is not silent. It is simply aligning things in unseen ways, preparing the harvest for the right season. If you rip the seed out of the soil too soon, you rob yourself of the miracle. There is a famous bamboo plant that teaches this principle perfectly. For the first 5 years after planting, nothing visible happens. You water it, you nurture it, and still the soil looks empty. People might even laugh at you for caring so much for something that seems dead. But in the 5th year, something astonishing occurs. The bamboo shoots up nearly 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Now ask yourself, did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or in 5 years? The truth is, it was growing all along, building an underground root system strong enough to support its sudden height. Without those hidden years, the plant could not survive. And so it is with your words. The universe might appear to be silent, but beneath the surface, roots are forming, strength is building, and your harvest is preparing to break through. But persistence requires more than patience. It requires resilience against the voices of doubt. History is full of people who were told they would never succeed, and yet they did because they refused to stop declaring. J.K. Rowling, for example, was rejected by multiple publishers. She was a single mother living on welfare, yet she kept writing, kept declaring, "I am a writer. I am an author." She could have abandoned the seed, but instead she nurtured it until Harry Potter became one of the most successful book series in history. When asked how she persevered, she said, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." That is persistence. That is the refusal to give up before the harvest. Sometimes, persistence looks less like grand victories and more like small, steady choices. A man who struggled with debt once decided that instead of constantly saying, "I am broke," he would begin saying, "I am financially free. I am disciplined. I am attracting opportunities." He spoke these words daily, even as creditors called and bills piled up. For a while nothing seemed to shift. But slowly new ideas and chances appeared. He started a side business, paid down his debts piece by piece, and within years he was not only debt-free but thriving. His persistence in holding to new words created a new reality. Had he given up in the early months, he would have missed the very opportunities his declarations were attracting. Florence Scovel Shinn warned that impatience and doubt could uproot blessings before they matured. She often told her students, "Never voice lack or limitation. Continue to affirm abundance and supply." She knew that the universe mirrors your persistence. If you keep speaking life, life will eventually echo back. If you abandon your declarations, the soil dries up and the seed withers. The choice is always yours. Will you persist until the harvest or give up in the waiting? Ask yourself this: how many dreams have you let die in the soil because you got tired of waiting? How many blessings were inches away from breaking through when you stopped declaring them? If you could see how close your miracle truly was, would you keep going? Persistence is not glamorous. It is not celebrated on magazine covers or shouted from rooftops. Persistence is quiet. It is the whispered, "I am strong" at midnight when fear is loud. It is the repeated, "I am loved," when heartbreak tries to define you. It is the daily, "I am enough," when failure tells you otherwise. And yet, it is persistence that moves mountains. It is persistence that proves your faith. It is persistence that invites the universe to finish the work it started. So picture yourself once more standing before the soil of your life. The seeds of your words are already planted. Maybe you see nothing yet. Maybe it feels hopeless. But remember the bamboo. Remember the farmer. Remember that the universe has perfect timing, and your only role is to keep watering with your declarations. Say it again: "I am strong. I am healed. I am prosperous. I am chosen." Say it today, say it tomorrow, say it until the harvest comes. Because it will come. The soil is alive. The seed is alive. And the universe never forgets the words you persistently declare. The universe has been whispering to you all along, reminding you that your words shape your reality, your persistence builds your future, and your belief unlocks the impossible. If this message stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Hit that like button to keep this energy alive, and subscribe because every video here is another seed planted in the soil of your transformation. One question for you: what 3 words will you boldly declare today to shape your destiny? Drop them in the comments. I want to hear the power you're claiming for your life. Stay aligned. Stay unstoppable. Stay awake. What if I told you that money is not just a piece of paper? What if I told you it listens, it responds, it even answers when you call it by name? This isn't fantasy. This is one of the rare teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, a woman ahead of her time. She believed words are not casual sounds. They are commands. They are forces. They are magnets. Think about it. When you call someone's name across the room, they turn. When you call your child from the playground, they run toward you. Names create recognition. Names create response. So Florence asked a daring question. What if money works the same way? Have you ever noticed how some people always talk about being broke? They say, I can't afford this. Money just slips through my hands. And guess what? Their words become their reality. Now compare that to someone who speaks differently. They say, money flows to me easily. Opportunities find me. Wealth is my partner. And strangely, it often does. Florence called this the law of calling money by name. She believed when you address money directly, you activate its energy. You stop treating it as a stranger and start treating it as a friend. Let me ask you, did the ancient kings call upon wealth before their battles? Did explorers call upon fortune before they set sail? Yes, they did. They prayed. They invoked. They declared. Because deep down they knew, what you call upon comes. Imagine money as a loyal dog. If you never call it, it stays away. If you call it with fear, it hides. But if you call it with certainty, here money, comes running. Now, what tone do you use when you call? Desperation, anger, or confidence and joy? Because the energy behind your call matters more than the words. I once knew a man who was always in debt. Every time we met, he said, I'm drowning in bills. Money hates me. And true to his words, his struggles grew worse. But when he discovered Florence's teaching, he decided to experiment. He began speaking daily. Money loves me. Money seeks me. Money is my constant friend. At first, nothing happened. But then, small checks started showing up. Old clients returned. Unexpected refunds came. Within a year, his financial life had turned completely around. Why? Because he stopped chasing money as an enemy and started calling it as a companion. Now here's the twist. It's not just about money. It's about identity. When you call money by name, you're not really talking to coins or notes. You're calling out to the universal supply, the abundance that exists in the unseen. And when you do it with belief, the universe answers back. So I ask you today, how will you speak to money? Will you curse it, fear it, resent it? Or will you welcome it, honor it, and call it by name? Remember this. Money is not your master. Money is your servant. And like any good servant, it waits for your command. So stand tall. Speak boldly. And say the words Florence Scovel Shinn taught. Money, come forth. You're my friend. You flow to me with ease. Because the moment you change your call, your life begins to change. Thank you. Key takeaways. Words are powerful forces that shape financial reality. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that calling money by name activates abundance. Speaking negatively about money repels it, while speaking positively attracts it. Treat money as a friend, not an enemy. It responds to how you call it. Energy and belief behind your words matter more than the words themselves. Abundance is not outside you. It responds to your command and recognition. Imagine for a moment that every word you speak is a seed. You drop it into the soil of your life, sometimes without even noticing, and one day that seed begins to sprout. Some seeds grow into flowers, others into thorns. Now think about how casually we use words around money. Someone wakes up, looks at their bills, sighs and says, I'll never get ahead. That sentence is a seed. Another person walks past a store window, sees something they want and mutters, I can't afford that. Another seed. Over time, these words grow roots, and soon their entire financial garden is overrun with weeds of lack and scarcity, yet they don't even remember planting them. Florence Scovel Shinn believed this deeply. She said, "Your word is your wand." She meant that every time you speak, you are casting a spell whether you realize it or not. And like a spell, your words call unseen forces into motion. When you say, "I am always broke," you are not just describing your condition, you are inviting it, strengthening it, reinforcing it like a chant. And the universe, impartial and obedient, answers back, "So it is." But the reverse is also true. When you say, "Money flows to me easily," you are not lying to yourself. You are planting a different seed, commanding a different force, setting a different spell into motion. It might not bloom instantly, but the soil hears it, the roots respond, and eventually the garden changes. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a little boy standing at the edge of a playground, his hands cupped around his mouth. He shouts, "Tommy," and across the swings another boy turns, smiles, and runs toward him. Words summon. They attract attention. Now shift the image. Imagine you standing in your living room, overwhelmed with bills on the table, and instead of collapsing into frustration, you speak out loud, "Money, you hear me. You know my name. You belong with me. Come." Does it sound strange? Maybe. But it's no stranger than the boy calling across the playground. You are naming, you are summoning, you are calling something by its rightful place in your life. Think of historical leaders. Julius Caesar did not whisper doubt before crossing the Rubicon. He declared, "The die is cast." And his army marched. Martin Luther King Jr. did not say, "I hope someday things might change." He said, "I have a dream." His words shook a nation awake. Words ignite destiny. And if they can shake empires and societies, do you think they cannot shape the flow of money into your hands? Of course they can. Because money, too, responds to vibration, and words are vibration clothed in sound. Now let me share a story that always moves me. A woman once came to Florence herself. She was desperate, drowning in debt, and she said, "Florence, nothing ever works out for me. I never have enough." Florence looked her in the eye and said, "Stop saying that. Say instead, 'I have a perfect supply for every demand.' Say it until you believe it." The woman was skeptical, but she obeyed. She repeated it daily, sometimes angrily, sometimes doubtfully, but she kept planting the seed. And within months she received unexpected income, opportunities she never considered, and a complete shift in her financial standing. What changed? Her words. Her words broke the pattern she had been weaving unconsciously for years. She stopped declaring lack and began declaring supply. The universe had no choice but to answer. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how often people laugh while saying things like, "I'm broke but happy," or "I'll never be rich, that's not for people like me"? They disguise poison as humor, but the subconscious mind does not laugh. It hears the words and says, "Understood. Let's make that true." That's why Florence insisted you must guard your words like a king guards his treasure. Because words are never casual. They carry weight. They create alignment. They paint the future. Imagine two people walking into a job interview. The first one mutters on the way in, "I'll probably mess this up. They won't choose me." The second whispers, "This opportunity belongs to me. I am the right choice." Both step into the same room, but do you feel the difference? One has already spoken defeat into the air, and the universe echoes it. The other has already spoken success, and doors shift in her favor. Words create an unseen atmosphere, and people around you feel it even if they can't explain why. Employers, clients, friends, they respond not just to your resume but to your vibration which your words have shaped. Consider also how parents speak to children about money. A child asks, "Mom, can we buy that?" And the answer often comes, "Do you think money grows on trees?" The words land sharp and absolute. To that child, money becomes something scarce, something painful, something withheld. Years later, that child becomes an adult who unconsciously repeats the same belief. Money is always hard. Now imagine instead the parent answering, "We don't choose to buy that today, but money flows and we can create what we need." The seed is different. The future is different. The garden will grow differently. There's an old proverb, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." Florence knew this applied to money too. Because when you speak words of poverty, you kill possibility. When you speak words of wealth, you give birth to abundance. One word can open a door and one word can close it. Which doors are you opening today? Picture yourself walking through a busy marketplace. Vendors are calling out, fresh apples. Best prices. Come here. Their words draw people. Now picture two stalls. One vendor whispers shyly, maybe someone will buy. The other boldly proclaims, everyone needs what I have. Come taste it. Who do you think attracts the crowd? The one who declares it. Money too is drawn to those who call confidently, who speak as though it is already present, already loyal, already flowing. I once heard of a man who kept a small jar on his desk labeled money magnet. Every morning he'd place even a single coin in it, smiling and say aloud, I attract wealth. I attract opportunity. Money is my partner. To an outsider it looked silly. But within a year his business doubled. His words had built an atmosphere of expectation, and reality had no choice but to bend. The jar was not magic. His words were. His words reshaped the soil of his belief, and wealth simply bloomed from it. So I ask you to reflect. What words have you been planting? What garden of finances are you sitting in today? If it is full of weeds, it is not because you are unlucky. It is because somewhere, sometimes, seeds of lack were sown. Maybe by you, maybe by your family, maybe by society. But here's the miracle. You can plant new seeds today. You can speak new words today. You can stand in the middle of your current reality and still declare, I am rich in opportunity. I am wealthy in supply. Money is drawn to me. And as you do, the soil will respond. The roots will grow. And the harvest will come because words never return empty. There's something almost mystical about names. From the moment we are born, the first thing we are given is a name. That name becomes our identity, our recognition in the world, the sound that makes us turn our head in a crowded room. Think about the last time someone called your name unexpectedly. You could be lost in thought, daydreaming, but the moment your name was spoken, you snapped to attention. That is the power of a name. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this and took it one step further. She asked, if people respond to their names, what if money responds in the same way? What if money, like a living energy, turns its head when you call it? What if by naming it you activate its presence, awaken it, invite it into your space? This idea may sound radical, but stop for a moment and remember how often we already speak directly to things in our lives. People talk to their cars, come on, don't break down now. They speak to plants, grow for me, little one. Some even speak to their luck, come on luck, don't fail me. And strangely, the car holds on, the plant blooms, the dice roll their way. It's as if unseen forces perk their ears when we speak. So why should money be any different? Imagine walking into your home at the end of a long day. Instead of tossing your wallet on the counter with a sigh of exhaustion, imagine placing it down gently and saying, thank you, money. You're my friend. You circulate freely. You always return to me multiplied. The first time you say it, it may feel awkward, almost silly. But imagine a week later you find a forgotten bill in your pocket. 2 weeks later, a refund you weren't expecting. A month later, a new client calls. Was it coincidence, or did money hear your voice and respond? Florence used to tell her students, you must give money recognition. You must call it as if it already belongs to you. She meant that we should not treat money as a distant stranger, but as an intimate companion. Think about it, when you call a dog by its name, it comes wagging its tail. When you call a child, they run into your arms. When you call money with love and certainty, how could it not draw near? I once knew a woman who was constantly struggling to pay her rent. Every month she scraped by at the last minute, borrowing here and there, always on edge. She discovered Florence's teaching and decided to test it. She began to speak to money directly. She would sit quietly each morning, close her eyes and say, money, I call you. You hear me. You come to me now. You are my faithful friend. At first nothing seemed to change. But she continued, day after day, her voice growing more confident. Then something unusual happened. She received a call about a freelance project that paid exactly the amount of her rent. The next month, another unexpected opportunity appeared. She laughed and said, it's as if money finally heard my voice. She kept calling it, and soon her financial life transformed. Not because she suddenly discovered magic, but because she stopped treating money as an enemy and started calling it like a trusted companion. We underestimate the power of naming because we think of money as lifeless, as if it's just paper or numbers on a screen. But money is movement. Money is circulation. It is an energy that listens to direction. When you call it by name, you are not speaking to paper. You are speaking to the energy of supply itself. Florence believed that supply was infinite, that abundance already exists in the unseen. But it remains asleep until you activate it with words, with naming, with recognition. Picture a man sitting alone in his kitchen late at night, his head in his hands, drowning in bills. He whispers to himself, "I'll never make it. Money doesn't come to me." The house feels heavy, silent, closed. Now imagine the same man in the same kitchen, bills still on the table, but instead he sits up straight, places his hand on the stack and says, "Money, I call you by name. You are mine. You answer me. You flow to me easily and perfectly." The room feels different, doesn't it? One voice pushed money away. The other voice called it forward. The bills haven't disappeared yet, but the energy has shifted. And sooner or later, the physical world must follow the vibration that has been spoken. Consider history. Explorers setting sail did not whisper uncertainty. They called upon fortune, they invoked destiny by name. Ancient kings would declare, "Treasure shall fill my halls," before battle. Farmers in ancient lands spoke to their harvest as if it were listening, calling it to grow and multiply. There is nothing new about this principle. Florence simply applied it directly to money. And in doing so, she revealed a T that most people overlook. Naming awakens. Naming activates. Naming commands attention. I want you to imagine your own relationship with money as if it were a friendship. If you had a friend and you ignored them, never called their name, only cursed them when they didn't show up, what would happen? They would stay away. But if you greeted them warmly, called them with joy, thanked them for being in your life, wouldn't they come around more often? Money behaves no differently. When you curse it, fear it, ignore it, it drifts away. When you call it, recognize it, honor it, it appears. One man I know keeps a practice every night before bed. He sits quietly, closes his eyes and speaks aloud, "Money, you are loyal. You are constant. You are drawn to me. You love being with me." He told me that when he first began he felt like he was pretending. But over time he noticed something remarkable. He began to feel less anxious about money. His tone shifted from desperation to calm expectation. And as he changed, so did his outer reality. Checks came unexpectedly. Opportunities multiplied. His business grew. He says, "I don't chase money anymore. I call it and it comes." And perhaps the greatest beauty of this teaching is that it doesn't just work for money. It changes your entire inner world. Because the moment you begin to call money as a friend, you also begin to call confidence, peace, and certainty into your life. You stop feeling like a beggar and you start speaking as a master. Florence knew this. She wanted her students not only to have money, but to have dignity, to stand tall and declare instead of collapse in fear. Calling money by name is not about superstition. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the role of commander, not victim. So when Florence said to call money by name, she was handing us a key. A key to abundance, a key to inner power, a key to a new relationship with supply itself. She knew that the moment you speak, the unseen begins to stir. And the moment you call with conviction, the doors of abundance begin to open. It may start small. A refund here, a gift there, a new opportunity out of nowhere. But if you keep calling, it grows louder, stronger, more constant. Until one day you look back and realize money has been by your side all along, waiting for you to speak its name. There is a strange truth about life that many people never realize. Money has ears. Not in the literal sense, but in the way energy listens to the tone of your voice, the intention of your words, the frequency of your speech. Florence Scovel Shinn used to remind her students that the universe does not argue with you. It simply reflects what you declare. If you say, "I can't afford that," the universe nods and closes the door. If you say, "Money comes easily to me," the universe whispers, "Very well," and begins to rearrange events to prove you right. It is almost unsettling how obedient life can be to the words that spill from your mouth. Think about it. Haven't you met people who seem cursed by their own sentences? They complain every day about being broke. They sigh, "Money always runs out before the month ends," or, "Every time I get ahead, something goes wrong." And sure enough, they find themselves right back where they started, struggling, suffocating, repeating the same cycle. You can almost feel the heaviness in their atmosphere, as if their words hang in the air and solidify into their reality. Then there are those rare people who speak differently. They smile even when bills stack up. They say things like, "Money finds its way to me. I always have more than enough." Everything I need flows at the right time. And somehow life bends in their favor. An unexpected check arrives. A friend offers help at the perfect moment. Opportunities chase them instead of them chasing opportunities. Is it luck? No. It is alignment. Their words act like magnets, pulling wealth toward them with invisible strings. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two shopkeepers opening their stores in the morning. The first one unlocks the door muttering, "Business is terrible. Nobody buys anymore. I'll probably lose everything." The second one in another part of town says as he lifts the shutters, "Today is a blessed day. Customers are coming. Money is flowing." Which store do you think draws more energy, more life, more business? Even if both started with the same circumstances, their words create completely different vibrations. One repels, one attracts. One speaks death, the other speaks life. Florence used to say, "Never voice lack, for it produces lack." She was direct because she knew how subtle the trap could be. We think words are harmless, that we are just venting or joking. But words are never neutral. They are seeds, and seeds do not ask whether you meant them. If you plant weeds, the soil doesn't say, "Oh, she didn't mean it." It grows weeds. If you speak lack, your subconscious does not laugh with you. It believes you. It acts on your command. There's a story of a man who constantly joked about being broke but happy. He said it so often that it became part of his identity, almost a badge of honor. His friends laughed with him, but his finances never improved. He was unknowingly chaining himself to lack with every sentence. Eventually, someone challenged him to stop saying it, to instead say, "I am wealthy and happy." At first he resisted, saying, "But that's not true." Yet Florence would remind us that words are not only descriptions of your present, they are prescriptions for your future. He forced himself to change his words, and slowly his circumstances followed. The shift didn't happen overnight, but one opportunity after another began to appear, until he finally admitted, "I never realized how much damage my own tongue was causing." Think of words like doorways. Every time you say, "I am broke," you slam the door on abundance. Every time you say, "Money flows to me," you open the door wide. Which doors have you been opening lately? And which ones have you been closing without realizing it? I once met a woman who lived with constant financial struggle. Every payday she would sigh, "It's gone before it even arrives." That phrase became her truth. The moment her salary hit the account, unexpected expenses drained it. When she discovered Florence's teaching, she decided to flip the script. Instead of saying, "It's gone before it even arrives," she began declaring, "My money multiplies. My money outlives my expenses." At first nothing changed. But she held on, she kept speaking. And within months, her expenses reduced, discounts appeared where she least expected them, and her money stretched further than ever before. She laughed one day and said, "It's as if my money finally learned how to behave." But the truth was, it wasn't the money that changed, it was her words. Words are powerful not because they magically bend reality instantly, but because they shape your inner atmosphere. They program your subconscious, which in turn guides your actions, your posture, your decisions. A person who says, "I can't afford this," will never look for ways to create more. They've already closed the possibility. But a person who says, "I will find a way to afford this," unconsciously opens themselves to opportunities. The language you choose becomes the path your mind walks. Even science echoes this truth. Studies in psychology show that people who speak positively about their finances, even in difficult times, experience less stress, make clearer decisions, and often create better financial outcomes. Why? Because their words shape their emotions, and their emotions shape their choices. Negative words keep you blind. Positive words open your eyes. Florence knew this long before research confirmed it. She taught her students to replace every complaint with a declaration, every word of lack with a word of supply. Let's imagine again. Two friends sit at a cafe. One says, "Prices are going up. We're doomed. Life is just getting harder." The other smiles and says, "Yes, prices rise, but money finds its way to me. There's always enough." Which friend do you think will walk away lighter, more hopeful, more open to opportunity? Which one will attract a conversation, a connection, a chance that could shift their life? The one whose words made room for it. Florence once said, "Do not deny lack. Simply refuse to affirm it." She didn't mean to ignore bills or pretend problems didn't exist. She meant that you should not give them power with your words. You may acknowledge the bill, but instead of saying, "This will drown me," you say, "This is already paid by divine supply." You may see an empty wallet, but instead of sighing, "I'm broke," you say, "This wallet is filling even now." It is not about lying to yourself. It is about speaking into existence the reality you want to see rather than the one you fear. Words are magnets, and like magnets they cannot help but attract. Negative words repel the flow of abundance, pushing it further and further away. Positive words pull it closer until it surrounds you. And this is why Florence warned her students: never make poverty your daily conversation. For the more you speak it, the more it clings to you. So ask yourself, what words do you live by? Do you spend your days muttering curses over your money, speaking of lack, joking about being broke? Or do you wake up each morning declaring that supply is yours, that abundance is near, that money is not your enemy but your companion? Because the truth is, money listens. The universe listens. Your subconscious listens. And whatever words you choose, they will obey. If you close your eyes and picture money as a person, what does it look like to you? Is it a stern stranger in a suit, cold and distant, turning its back on you whenever you reach out? Or is it a warm friend, smiling, eager to sit by your side, always ready to support you when you call? Most people imagine the first. They treat money as an enemy, as something to be feared, as something that never quite belongs to them. And like any relationship built on fear and resentment, it runs away. Florence Scovel Shinn understood something that most of the world misses. The way you treat money determines the way it treats you. If you scold it, it hides. If you chase it angrily, it slips further away. But if you welcome it, honor it, treat it like a friend, it draws near. Think about your human relationships. If you constantly complain about a friend, curse their name, or tell them, "You never show up when I need you," what happens? That friend begins to pull back. They no longer feel safe in your presence. They no longer want to be around you. But if you speak kindly, if you say, "I'm grateful you're in my life. You always arrive right on time. I love spending time with you," that friend shows up even more. Money is not different. It listens to the energy of your words, the tone of your heart, and it decides whether to approach or retreat. I once heard a story about a man who always said, "Money hates me. I just can't keep it." He repeated it for years, laughing bitterly each time, but it was no laughing matter. Money truly seemed to despise him. Every raise he received was eaten up by sudden expenses. Every bonus slipped through his hands like water. Finally, someone asked him, "If money were a person, how would it feel hearing you say that every day?" He paused and realized he had been treating money like an enemy, and money had simply acted accordingly. From that day he changed his language. He began to speak as if money were a loyal companion. "Money and I get along. Money loves to stay with me. Money enjoys being in my care." Slowly things shifted. His expenses stabilized, his savings grew, and he laughed one day saying, "I guess money finally decided I was a good friend after all." Florence used to say, "If you make money your servant, it will always obey. But if you treat it as a tyrant, it will rule you." That is the essence of this teaching. Money is meant to serve you, to support your purpose, to move freely through your hands and into your life. But when you fear it, resent it, or worship it, you give it a false power. You turn it into something that controls you instead of something that works for you. Friendship balances this. A friend is not your master nor your slave, but a willing companion who walks with you because they feel welcome. Let's make it vivid. Imagine two households. In the first, every time bills arrive, the parents groan, "Money never stays with us. It's always gone." They complain about prices, they mutter about debts, they argue about finances. The children overhear and learn to see money as a cruel intruder who only brings stress. In that household, money becomes restless, uneasy, like a guest who is never thanked, and so it rarely lingers. In the second household, the parents greet their bills by saying, "Thank you for the services this represents. Thank you, money, for flowing through us to pay this." They speak of purchases with gratitude. "We are blessed to have enough. More is coming." The children overhear and learn to see money as a friend, as a welcome visitor who always knocks at the door. In that household, money feels comfortable and it stays. The difference is not the amount in the account, but the spirit in which money is treated. I once met a woman who kept a small ritual. Each time she received money, no matter how small, she held it in her hands and said, "Welcome, friend. I'm grateful you've come. You are safe here. You are free to return again and again." She treated each coin and each bill as a guest of honor. Over time, her financial situation improved dramatically. She explained, "It's like money trusts me now. It knows it will be respected here." She stopped fearing that money would leave, and because of that, money seemed eager to return. Now imagine the opposite. Picture someone angrily slamming a paycheck onto the table, muttering, "This isn't enough. This will never cover what I need." How does money feel in that moment? If it were a person, would it want to come back? Would it feel appreciated? Probably not. It would retreat, leaving the person with exactly what they affirmed: never enough. Florence often taught her students to speak directly to money, to personify it as a friend. One of her affirmations was, "Money is my faithful servant. Money comes when I call it. Money loves to be in my hands." When spoken with conviction, these words do more than comfort. They shift the subconscious relationship. The mind begins to act as if money is trustworthy, as if it belongs, as if it is not a fleeting stranger but a consistent presence. And the outer world responds to this inner trust. Consider a simple analogy. If you had a pet dog but every time it came near you shouted, "Why are you here? You never behave," the dog would cower, run away and hide. But if you greeted it with open arms, scratching its ears, saying, "I'm glad you're here," the dog would wag its tail and return every day with joy. Money reacts in much the same way. It knows the tone of your voice, the energy of your welcome. Treat it as a burden and it escapes. Treat it as a friend and it stays. It is also important to notice how people speak when they spend. Many people hand over money with resentment, groaning, "There goes my last dollar." But Florence advised her students to bless their money as it left their hands, to say, "I give this with joy, knowing it returns multiplied." This transforms spending from a loss into an act of trust, an exchange between friends rather than a fight with an enemy. The moment you shift into gratitude, money responds. It feels invited, respected, and it circles back. There is a man I know who changed his relationship with money through one simple phrase. Each time he paid a bill, he would say out loud, "Thank you, money, for paying this. You are doing your job well." Over time, instead of resenting his bills, he began to see them as proof of circulation, proof that money was moving through his life. The result was astonishing. Not only did his stress around money dissolve, but new streams of income opened up, as if the energy of money, now treated as a friend, wanted to reward his gratitude. The truth is, money is not cold. It is not cruel. It has not come to punish or enslave. It is neutral energy waiting for your invitation, ready to be the companion you allow it to be. But it cannot feel at home in hostility. Cannot stay where it is hated. It flourishes where it is welcomed, where it is spoken of as a friend, where it is treated with joy rather than fear. So when Florence said to treat money as a friend, she was not speaking in metaphor alone. She was giving us a secret of alignment. Because when you call money with love, with respect, with gratitude, you shift the vibration of your entire being. And that shift becomes irresistible to abundance itself. Money leans in. Money listens. Money stays close. Because like any true friend, money goes where it is wanted and it lingers where it is loved. There is something almost magical about the way tone changes everything. Think about it. A mother calls her child's name softly with warmth, and the child comes running with a smile. The same mother calls the same name in anger, sharp and cold, and the child freezes, afraid. The word itself hasn't changed. The name is the same. But the energy, the feeling behind the call, that is what makes the difference. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that when it comes to money, or anything in life, it is not just the words you use but the belief, the spirit, the energy with which you use them. Words without belief are empty shells. Words with conviction are living forces. Imagine a man standing in front of a mirror repeating, I am wealthy, yet his voice trembles, his heart whispers, no you're not, and his mind laughs at the absurdity. Those words fall flat, bouncing back at him with no power, because the energy behind them is poisoned by doubt. Now picture another man speaking the same words, I am wealthy, but his voice is steady, his heart trusts, and his eyes glimmer with expectation. Those same words become a key, unlocking doors that seemed impossible before. Florence would say, your words are commands, but your belief is the seal that makes them real. Have you ever watched someone pray? One person rattles off words mechanically, a long string of phrases they don't even feel. Another prays with tears in their eyes, with fire in their voice, with unwavering faith. The difference is visible, almost tangible. One set of words drifts away. the other shakes the room. It is the same with affirmations, with declarations about money, with the law of abundance. You cannot simply parrot words like a parrot in a cage. You must speak them as if they are alive, as if they belong to you already, as if the universe has no choice but to obey. Think of a king in ancient times. If he issued a decree timidly, whispering, "I hope this happens," no one in his kingdom would move. But if he stood tall and thundered, "It shall be done," the whole empire would spring into action. The decree itself could be the same, but the authority behind it determined whether it was carried out. You are no different. When you speak about money with belief, with energy, with certainty, you issue a decree to the universe. And the universe moves. Let me share a story. A young woman I once knew struggled with endless lack. She tried affirmations, but they felt fake. Every morning she whispered, "I am wealthy," but inside she shook her head thinking, "No, I'm not." One day she decided to change her approach. Instead of repeating the words flatly, she closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and imagined what it would feel like to truly have wealth. She pictured herself paying bills with ease, walking into stores without fear, giving generously to others. She let her body feel the relief, the joy, the freedom. And then she spoke, "I am wealthy." This time her words rang with conviction. She said it again, louder, stronger, until she felt every fiber of her being believe it. Within months her life began to shift. Opportunities appeared. New income streams opened. Her words hadn't changed, but her energy had, and that made all the difference. This is why Florence always emphasized feeling. She told her students, "You must feel it to make it real. Faith without feeling is dead." You can stand in a room and chant affirmations for hours, but if deep down you believe the opposite, nothing happens. But even one phrase, spoken once with complete belief, can change your life. Imagine striking a match. You don't need to strike it 100 times to make a flame. One strike with the right force creates fire. One word with the right energy creates movement. Think of musicians. A singer can sing the same lyrics as another, but one leaves you unmoved, while the other brings you to tears. Why? Because one sings words, the other pours belief into them. The same is true with money. You may say, "Money flows to me," but if you mutter it under your breath, doubting every syllable, money will not listen. If you say it with certainty, with joy, with gratitude, as if it is already happening, money cannot help but respond. There was once a man who used to declare, "I attract wealth," but he said it sarcastically, with a mocking laugh, almost daring the universe to prove him wrong. And of course nothing changed. When someone pointed this out, he was challenged to say it differently. Instead of mocking, he was told to stand tall, put a smile on his face, and say it as if he truly believed. Reluctantly he tried. At first it felt awkward, but slowly the energy shifted. His voice grew stronger, his chest expanded, and his words carried authority. "I attract wealth," he said again and again, this time not as a joke but as a command. And within weeks he found himself offered a new job with a salary far higher than he had before. The words were the same. The energy was not. Even in everyday life you can see how energy colors words. Two people can say, "Good morning." One says it with bitterness, barely glancing at you, and it feels empty. The other says it with a smile, with warmth, with belief that the morning truly is good, and you feel lifted. Words are vessels, but energy is the content inside. You can offer an empty cup or a full one. Which do you think nourishes? Florence taught her students to speak as if they were already in possession of what they desired. She warned them not to plead, not to beg, but to command with joy. If you say, "Please money, come to me someday," your energy is desperation, and desperation repels. But if you say, "Money is here, money is my friend, money flows to me easily," with conviction, your energy is abundance, and abundance attracts more of itself. The universe responds not to begging but to certainty. One woman shared that when she first started calling money, she said it timidly, almost whispering, "Money, come to me." She felt foolish, embarrassed, doubtful. Nothing happened. Then one evening she stood alone in her living room and shouted boldly, "Money, I call you now. You're mine. You love me. You stay with me." She laughed at herself, but something inside shifted. She felt powerful, alive, certain. Within days, unexpected opportunities began appearing. It was as if money had been waiting all along for her to stop whispering like a beggar and start commanding like a master. Energy carries further than words. Have you ever walked into a room and sensed tension without anyone speaking? or felt joy radiating from someone before they said a single word. That is energy. When you speak about money, the energy of your belief travels faster than the syllables. If you truly believe money is coming, people feel it. Opportunities feel it. The world bends toward it. So when Florence said belief matters more than words, she was handing us a sacred key. Words are the vehicle, but belief is the driver. Words are the bow, belief is the arrow. Words are the lamp, belief is the flame. Without belief, words are hollow. With belief, even the simplest word becomes unstoppable. There is a truth that so many people overlook when they first begin this journey of speaking abundance into their lives. The universe does not just respond to your words in the moment, it responds to the rhythm of your consistency. One spark can light a flame, yes, but it is the steady feeding of that flame that turns it into a fire bright enough to guide your entire life. Florence Scovel Shinn always reminded her students that words spoken once with belief are powerful, but words spoken daily with persistence and unwavering faith create momentum that cannot be stopped. It is like the dripping of water upon stone. One drop alone may seem insignificant, but drop after drop, day after day, carves valleys, shapes canyons, transforms landscapes. Picture a man standing in his garden, planting a seed. He covers it gently with soil, waters it once, and then walks away forever. What chance does that seed have to grow? Now imagine the same man returning every day, watering it faithfully, pulling away weeds, protecting it from pests, trusting that beneath the soil, something unseen is happening. Over time, the seed pushes through the earth, sprouts leaves, and one day stands tall as a tree. The seed is your word, but the water is your consistency. Without that daily nurture, the seed dies in silence. With it, miracles unfold. There was once a woman who worked in a small shop, barely earning enough to survive. She read about affirmations and tried them for a week, saying each morning, "I am wealthy. Money comes to me easily." But after 7 days, when nothing changed, she gave up, muttering, "It doesn't work." Months later, she attended a lecture where someone asked her, "How long have you practiced believing?" When she admitted it was only a week, the teacher smiled gently and said, "Would you stop watering a flower because it didn't bloom in 7 days? Wealth, like flowers, grows from daily care. Speak your words until they take root in your subconscious. That is when you will see the fruit." She went back and began again, this time with consistency. Every morning, without fail, she declared her wealth. Every evening, she repeated her affirmation with gratitude. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly things shifted. She found opportunities in unexpected places, people came to her with offers, and her finances transformed. It wasn't the words alone, it was the daily practice of them, spoken until belief grew roots. Think of the difference between a whisper and a drumbeat. A whisper may be heard once and forgotten, but a steady drumbeat commands attention. The universe hears your drumbeat when you repeat your declarations with persistence. It begins to align with your rhythm, responding to the pulse of your faith. Florence said, "Repetition impresses the subconscious. And the subconscious, once impressed, sets forces in motion that the conscious mind cannot even fathom. That is why persistence matters. Imagine 2 people running a race. One sprints for the first 100 meters and then stops, exhausted, never reaching the finish line. The other runs steadily, step after step, refusing to quit, and eventually crosses triumphantly. Speaking wealth into your life is not about one burst of energy and then silence. It is about running steadily, even when you see no immediate result. The finish line is there, waiting for those who refuse to stop. I remember hearing the story of a man named Robert who struggled with debt for years. Every night, he would sit with his bills spread out before him, feeling crushed by the weight of what he owed. One day he decided to change his approach. Instead of dreading those papers, he began blessing them. He would place his hand over each bill and say, "Thank you for trusting me with credit. Thank you for the money that is on its way to pay you in full." At first it felt absurd, but he did it every night. Days became weeks, weeks became months, and still he persisted. He told friends, "It doesn't matter how it looks. I am wealthy. Money flows to me." Slowly but surely things began to change. He received unexpected bonuses, found side jobs, and one by one his debts disappeared. His persistence was the bridge from despair to abundance. Consistency is not just about the words themselves. It is about the atmosphere you create around them. If you declare wealth in the morning but spend the rest of the day complaining about lack, you scatter your energy. But if you return to your declaration again and again, morning, noon, and night, you weave a thread of belief that strengthens each day. Florence often said, "Do not take back your words." Every complaint, every doubtful thought is like pulling up the seed you planted to see if it is growing. Leave it in the soil. Keep watering with faith. There is also a hidden beauty in persistence. It transforms you. In the beginning, you may feel like a stranger to your own affirmations, whispering wealth while living in lack. But with time, the words carve themselves into your soul. One day you wake up and realize that you no longer hope to be wealthy. You know you are wealthy. That knowing is born only through repetition, through saying it until it feels as natural as breathing. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they wobble, but they keep going. They do not say, "I fell once, so walking must not be for me." They persist until walking is effortless. So it is with calling money, with commanding wealth. You may stumble in doubt, fall into fear, wobble in disbelief. But if you persist, if you keep speaking, keep affirming, keep believing, one day it becomes natural. Wealth becomes the ground you walk on. One of Florence's students once wrote, "I kept affirming, God supplies all my needs, even when I had no job, no food, no rent money. Day after day I said it. Some days I said it through tears. But I kept going. And then like a flood the supply came. A friend offered me work. A neighbor brought me food. A landlord gave me grace. My persistence pulled me through." Stories like these remind us that consistency is not glamorous, but it is the secret to transformation. There will be times when doubt whispers, "Stop. It isn't working." But remember, the darkest hour is just before dawn. That moment when you feel like giving up is often the moment when breakthrough is closest. Imagine a miner digging for gold. He digs for days, weeks, months, striking only rock. Tired, he quits, not knowing that if he had dug one more foot, he would have struck the richest vein of all. Consistency is that extra foot. It is refusing to stop when the treasure is just beneath the surface. So keep speaking your wealth into existence. Morning after morning, night after night, let your words become a song, a heartbeat, a drum that never stops. Let them echo so deeply that the universe cannot ignore them. Florence would say, "A word spoken consistently is a law fulfilled." And when law is fulfilled, results are inevitable. And so, as you've journeyed with me through these truths, remember, your words, your consistency, and your belief are not just habits, they are the keys that unlock the life you desire. If this message resonated with you, tap that like button. It tells us you're ready to claim your power. Subscribe now, not because I asked, but because those who choose to feed their mind daily are the ones who transform their reality. And I want to hear from you. What single belief are you ready to speak into existence starting today? Drop your answer in the comments below.